Welcome to CM1. In this tutorial, we will cover working on site structure elements. We can delete local content by using the X button. It will remind you if you want to delete this content, and after clicking yes, it will bring you back to an empty rich text widget. The second way to enter content into widgets on pages is by utilizing our asset library. Let's go back and expand the Finder again and switch over to the Assets tab. We have to use a rich text asset type. Once you have selected your asset, simply click on it and drag over the widget and drop it. You can see the result as it populates the widget. It's interesting to see when we click the widget again, we see that the icon is different, and that the pencil is pointing to the asset symbol. And by hovering over it, it says Edit Shared Assets. What this means is that as a contributor, you might not have permission to edit this asset since it's shared. If you do have permission and edit this, then it will affect the asset in any other page that uses it since it's shared content. So those were the two ways to enter content on the page level, either manually or using the asset library. Once you're done, you would submit this to an editor for review. Default workflow, which is coming next, is always displayed. If there were any other possibilities, it would exist in this drop-down. In this case, we only have the option to submit it for review. By submitting this, it would go into review state for an editor and get approved for publishing, or come back to you for further edits. Let's take a look at the Metadata tab, where you can modify some of the page attributes, such as link text, title, or name. You can also add a description meta tag for search results. Ticking this box will hide your page from search engines, which can be useful in certain cases. Here is the page summary, which is really useful when working with page autolist, which is explained in a separate video. You can choose to enter a summary for the page manually through the rich text editor, or you can choose to have the summary auto-generated, which I will shortly guide you through. Here is where you can tag pages in order to add some additional metadata. You can add a comma-separated list of tags to help aggregate content. You can also categorize pages, as we have categories already defined for us, and we can just select them here. This is where we can add additional code, whether it's JavaScript or any other sort of client-side code. Something I want to point out is that when you go to delete the shared asset, you will see that it says remove shared asset from widget. Basically, when you remove this asset, it will remove it only from this page and will still remain in the asset library. This is another good reason to leverage your asset library as much as possible, so that deleting content accidentally won't be such a problem, as you can simply drag it back in. Let's add some local content to illustrate how to auto-generate a summary. You'll see that on the right side of the rich text editor, we have this icon that says More Link. And by clicking on that, it inserts a link that says Read More. This is the trigger for the summary, and anything that comes before this link will get pulled automatically into a summary. This is the alternative method to generate a summary for your page. Let's switch over to the Layout section by clicking the Layout tab up here. Here we see the div structure for our templates. We notice that the divs are stacked on top of each other. This is where we can add a widget or widgets to empty regions. In order to do this, we expand the Add Widget tray and are given a selection of widgets. To bring a widget into a template, we select the one we want and drag it into the region and drop it. You can also add more than one widget into a region. You can put it on top here, for example. A handy feature is that you can rearrange the order in which they appear by just dragging the widget, so it's very simple. On many widgets in the layout mode, you have a wrench, which is a configuration icon. This is where you can set properties which concern how the widget functions. For example, with the breadcrumb widget, we can configure it to not display the current page and to modify what we use as a separator. You notice once again that when I click on the widgets that have been inserted on the template, it won't allow me to change those properties. Lastly, we'll look at the Style tab. By clicking the wrench here, a dialog will appear, which will allow you to add CSS root classes to certain widgets. In the CSS file, there's a special class that's created for the breadcrumb widget that we can enter in here manually. Next, we go ahead and submit it for the workflow and see what happens next. It gets sent to the editor for review, and you can see that the status has been reflected here. So now an editor can improve it, and it will go in a queue for publishing, or it can get sent back to you for further edits. Just as with the asset library, a page can be moved within the library by dragging it and dropping it in the desired location. This is the end of our tutorial. Thank you for watching.